So we've all seen these e-bikes on the roads, but there are some really surprising statistics that have come out about them. One of the more scary statistics is that there's been a 18-fold increase in severe accidents involving these e-bikes. So for example, in California, they'd gone from 184 to 3,429 events. Also, based on these studies, shown a higher incidence of severe injury compared to regular bikes. Nationwide, US researchers shown a dramatic 49-fold increase involving injuries with head trauma, which can be very serious. They also show, besides just car accidents, but there's these lithium-ion battery problems where the lithium-ion battery explodes. For example, in 2023, there were 267 fires reported and 150 injuries with 18 deaths related to these lithium-ion batteries. These e-bikes, they are very popular. They're very popular to give as gifts. They're very popular as a mode of transportation. And in California, there is some legislative push for people to be using bicycles as opposed to vehicles in order to ease the traffic. There are a couple other things that are really important that you should know. One is that there are different classes of e-bikes. Main distinctions are how fast they go, whether they have a throttle. The class 3 e-bike can go up to 28 miles per hour, and oftentimes you're required to wear a helmet. 28 miles per hour is basically as fast as a car will go on surface streets, and you have to be very careful. One thing I've noticed from my own cases is that people on e-bikes, they ride them in the roads almost as if they're riding a motorcycle. When you are riding an e-bike or a bike on the road, you are subject to the same rules of the road as a vehicle. And oftentimes you're going to be in a lane with other vehicles. That means that you have to stop at stop signs. That means you have to be clear and signal if you're going to make turns. You also have to be very careful because it can be difficult to see you on these bicycles. And oftentimes you're still required to have reflectors or lights if it's at night. One common injury or accident that I've seen is where another vehicle's turning left and you're on a bike going straight and they just don't see you or they think you're going to stop. You have to be very careful. Even though you may be in the right because you're going straight and the other vehicle's turning left, oftentimes if you hit them, you're going to be severely injured. And one thing that I've seen is the people making the left turn, the vehicle, they might have a minimal insurance policy. So your body is hitting their vehicle. You're probably going to the ER. You're probably getting tens of thousands, maybe more in ER bills. That person's only got a $15,000 insurance policy. And one of the bad things is that insurance is not required for you on the e-bike. So you're not going to necessarily have insurance if the e-bike is your only mode of transportation. I have seen where if you also have your own vehicle and your own insurance, you may be able to recover under your own insurance policy under the uninsured motorist coverage, which I've made videos about before. Another thing that's very common that I've seen with these injuries is that people, they don't want to wear helmets when riding them. And if it's a class 1 or class 2, you may not be required to wear a helmet if you're over 18. However, if you get into an accident and you get hurt and it's a head injury, even though you're not wearing a helmet, what's going to happen is the other side, the defendant or the defendant's insurance company, is going to argue that you failed to protect yourself in the event of an accident. And if you were wearing a helmet, you would have limited your injuries. And you have a duty under the law to limit or mitigate injuries to yourself, and you failed to do that. Doesn't always win. Sometimes you can get around those arguments, but it is an argument that can be effective, particularly in this day and age where a lot of times people want everyone to take personal responsibility for their actions. I mentioned that statistic about lithium-ion batteries exploding. One thing that you want to make sure that you do if you are the victim of one of these lithium-ion battery explosions is you have to keep that battery and you want to save it. And then you also need to get medical treatment. So if you have a burn injuries are a specialized injury. You have to be very careful about how you treat them. You can't just go and get a bag of ice and put it on the burn. That could make things worse. And oftentimes you might have to go to a specialized burn treatment specialist. That could be a particular hospital, or you might have to go to a special clinic for burns. But if you lose that battery, or you throw it away, or let's say you call the company. Sometimes these companies are very savvy and they'll say, oh, we'll send someone to go get the battery. And then they take the battery from you and all of a sudden it disappears. That could be the end of your case. So always remember, you want to keep the defective battery or whatever it is that caused you injury in these product defect cases. We talked about getting treatment for the burn injury. You're also going to want to document the burn injury. That means taking photographs of the injury itself, the treatment you undergo, and you may want to or need to consult with a plastic surgeon depending on how bad the burn is. If you are injured in an e-bike accident, you want more information, you want a free consultation, feel free to call my office.